So it's time for movie reviews on Pure 24/7 Radio. My name's Nathan Thomas, and I'm joined today by Andy Godfrey, the acclaimed film critic and movie reviewer. And as you can see, if you are watching this by his t-shirt, also a writer for Pure Media, the magazine. Hello, Andy.
Hi Nathan. Yeah, I'm very thrilled to receive my writer's T-shirt for the Pure Media magazine. A little reminder to anybody watching on YouTube and to people listening, subscribe now to the greatest magazine that's out there. Greatest writers in the world, and you can read it free online. You can subscribe to get a physical copy. So yeah, just want thought. As I had a new T-shirt, courtesy of you guys, for which I'm so grateful, and promoting the magazine. I thought I'd wear it for at least for the YouTube what people anyway. It's not very good for radio, but for the YouTube people, it's good.
It's very good, and yes, really good to see you with that t-shirt on. It looks great, doesn't it? I love the white and the gold. Actually, it's kind of it's a
Yeah,
really,
yeah, very posh.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's like a very,
it
what's the
does.
word? Very sophisticated, very
And there's full
luxurious
details
feel.
on the back of the T-shirt about how you can get hold of the magazine.
Yeah,
What I love about the magazine, genuinely, is that I write two articles, but what I love about the magazine is the variety.
Mm.
They're really, and I'm not just saying this to try and sell the magazine to people listening or people watching. There really is genuinely something for everybody. And I think you've got, again, for people watching, the latest copy on your right-hand side.
I have
So
indeed.
looking forward to get my hands on that. Yeah, it's a great magazine. It really is.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and of course, yeah, as you say, the variety is amazing. I mean, everything you've got people covering sensory health with Arnold Jackson. There's sports with Matt Dick. There's medical health. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of great stuff. There's sort of what's the word? Sort of companies and charities and strategies along that with Mark Preston and all sorts of great stuff. So do check that one out.
And
Pure
film
Media.
reviews with an acclaimed film critic.
What's that?
And film news with an acclaimed film critic.
Well, that too. Yes. If you enjoy these movie reviews, you can get it in kind of in written form in the magazine.
What we tend to do in the magazine is we tend to talk about films that are coming out.
Yes.
So we give people a little heads up about what they can expect in the next month at the cinema. Yeah.
Yes, it's really, really cool. Right. Well,
Okay.
we are not here to talk about Tour Media the
No?
magazine, although I don't mind talking about it, but we are here for movie reviews.
Yeah.
And as ever, do you want to start off with what's going on in cinema at the moment?
Yeah, we've got three new films out today, which I haven't seen. One of them stars Kate Winslet called Dead of Winter, which is a thriller. We've got another one about some ex-soldiers and bad guys come after them for revenge called One Battle After Another. And we've also got a horror film coming out today called The Strangers Part Two. And if it's anything like The Strangers Part One, it will be absolutely rubbish. Avoid it like the plague. So three films out today. We'll talk about a couple of those next week because I haven't seen them yet. What I did want to start, Nathan, with was where we were at last week. So last week we were talking about the fact that Sound of Music is 60 years old and is now showing in cinemas. And I went to see it this week. When Sound of Music came out, I was 3 years old, and I've seen it many, many times, and I have a copy in my collection on DVD, and I really like the film. I've never seen it projected, and if you're going to the cinema to see Sound of Music, I just want to say, give you a little heads up: arrive early. Now it's worth seeing at the cinema. This is the 4K HD restored version, which means that the print is absolutely pristine. For a film that is 60 years old, it looked like it had been made yesterday. And of course, those great, beautiful vistas of the mountains and Julie Andrews and the hills are alive with the sound of music. They look stunning. But arrive early because just before the film, there is a quiz, believe it or not. Now, I've never experienced this before. And my daughter had been to see it. She said, Dad, arrive early. So I did. And there's a quiz, a multiple choice quiz, questions about the film, and then they show you the answers from clips from the film. And I had never, I don't think I did very well with the quiz at all. And I was a little bit ashamed of myself because I think I should have done better. But there is a scene in the film in which the original Maria von Trapp, the real Maria von Trapp, appears. And I'd quite forgotten. She's just in the background. She's just an extra in a crowd, but she's actually in the film. And you see, if you arrive early, you'll see some shots of Julie Andrews talking to the real life Maria. It's really worthwhile getting there early. It's still doing the rounds. Go see The Sound of Music. That said, if you can't get to the cinema or if it's too expensive, they're showing it on TV on Sunday afternoon. So it is, in fact, The Sound of Music is, in fact, on BBC Two on Sunday afternoon. Now, it's not Christmas. It's not a bank holiday. What's going on? Why are they showing it at this time of year? But nevertheless, Sound of Music is on TV. But if you can, folks, get to the cinema, I'd forgotten how funny it is. There's some really funny lines alongside the serious stuff of the Nazis taking over Austria. There's some really funny moments in the film. And you get an intermission because it's a long film. You get an intermission that's 5 minutes long. I think originally the intermission would have been about half an hour. And then you get what you call what's called an entrée, which is music that's played while people are coming back into the cinema after the intermission, taking us. And we get that in full, as it would have been back in 1965. So it really is worthwhile seeing at the cinema. I thoroughly enjoyed it all over again, and it did look absolutely fantastic. So that's that. Talking of musicals, in cinemas tonight and over this weekend, you can go and see Hamilton. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard Hamilton. It's by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It came out in 2014. It's a rap stroke rock stroke show musical. So there's rap music, there's rock music, there's big show tunes, all in this one musical. And it's about Alexander Hamilton, who was one of the founding fathers of America. And it's really interesting because he cast all black actors in the role of the founding fathers of America. So he said at the time, I'm writing a musical about America as it was and as it is. And if you've never heard the score to Hamilton, just listen to it. The music is absolutely sensational. I'm not normally into rap music, but the rap music is brilliant. It's a sung through musical. And what they did when Hamilton came out was they filmed it and they put it on Disney Plus. They filmed the stage show. Now, to celebrate its 10th anniversary, really, you can go and see it in cinemas. I would encourage you, Nathan, get hold of the soundtrack of Hamilton or look it up. It is just a fantastic musical. I'm going to see it tonight and I really can't wait. It's going to be amazing. My daughter bought me one year for Father's Day the CD, the 2-set CD of the stage show. And honestly, it is just one of my most played CDs. So go see Hamilton. That's in cinemas. Also in cinemas, and I do want people to take note of this. Please take note. Please, please, please. There is a film in cinemas at the moment. You ready for this? Called The Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Right? Now, I went in thinking, I could make a sermon out of this. The big, bold, beautiful journey, the big, bold, beautiful journey of life, the big, bold, beautiful journey of following Jesus, maybe there's a sermon here. I came out thinking they should add 2 more words beginning with B to the title, okay? So it's called A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. It's in cinemas, one of the big films in cinemas at the moment, big stars, including Margot Robbie. The 2 words they should have added to the title beginning with B are bloomin' boring.
Oh dear.
What happens is this. 2 people meet at a wedding. In order to get to this wedding, they both hired cars from a very strange car rental company. And when they hired the cars, the car rental company insisted that they have the car with the sat-nav in. Now, most cars, I've just got a new car. Most cars have got sat-nav in them anyway. But you must have our sat-nav in the car. So they get the cars, they drive off, they meet at this wedding. And as they're driving back, as the guy is driving back from the wedding, the sat-nav suddenly says, hey, Chris, pull in at the next cafe and meet Sarah again. And you go, what? The sat-nav's talking to him. The sat-nav's talking to, this is weird, this is crazy. And he goes, yeah, okay. As if it's a normal everyday event. There is no sense of wonder in this film at all. He pulls into this cafe. Margot Robbie sat there. They get talking. They go out and get in one of the cars. I don't know what happened to the other one, how it ever gets back to the car rental company. Beside the point. They get in this, and the sat-nav starts talking to him. Now, Chris and Sarah, here's what I want you to do. I want you to drive 2.5 miles and park by the side of a field. And they don't go, the sat-nav's talking to us. This is scary. This is crazy. And we're all, we're freaked out by this. They go, yeah, okay. They park by the side of the field. In the field is a door, just a door standing up right on its own, right? They do not go at any point, oh, look, there's a door standing in the middle. Well, this is crazy. Why is there a door in the middle of a field? No, 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 no. Oh, look, there's a door. Jolly gee. Wonder what happens if we open it. What happens if they open it, as they open it, is they go into their past. And this happens on a number of occasions. The sat-nav keeps taking them to locations where there are doors. And each time they go through the door, they step into their past. At one point, they step onto a hillside and they sit down where they seem to be overlooking the whole planet. And honestly, there is no sense of wonder. There is no sense of what the heck is going on. There is no sense of, I don't understand. My sat-nav's talking to me. There's no sense of being scared. My friend Mark Commode, his review of it was, this film doesn't work. And it doesn't. It could have been a really good, lovely fantasy science fiction film about two people exploring each other's paths and falling in love. And it meandered to an inevitable conclusion where they do fall in love. It was rubbish. It was terrible. The acting was, there's no sense of wonder. There's no sense of what's going on. There's no sense of, hey, we're enjoying this ride. No sense of being thrilled. No sense of being scared. I genuinely fell asleep halfway through. It cured my insomnia. And I jolted myself awake and had to force myself awake, even though I could see where the film was going. They're going to end up back at the car rental company and he's going to take her home and they're going to fall. Blah, blah, blah. I could see exactly where it was going. I had to force myself to stay awake. The big, bold, beautiful, blooming journey. Now, a lot of people have been looking forward to this. I mean, a lot of people in my group had been looking forward to this film because big stars, Margot Robbie, who played Barbie, is one of the, is the female lead. And Colin Firth, who's one of the biggest actors in the world, is the guy. We'd all been really looking forward to this. Supposed to look good. Everything about it looked good. Good director. So boring. So tedious. So, I don't know, just lackluster. So, the big, bold, blooming, boring, beautiful journey is in cinemas. Also, what I saw this week, Nathan, was a film called Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Now, you might possibly have heard of Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
So, in 1984, a film came out about the rock group Spinal Tap. And lots of people thought, oh, this is a new rock group, and it was a documentary about how they got together and how they were writing their songs and how they were writing their music. And it was a really funny documentary. They've got a speaker. This is the film with the most famous moment of all, where they've got these loudspeakers on stage that go up to 11. So the phrase "it goes up to 11" came from This Is Spinal Tap. It wasn't real. Spinal Tap it was a complete mockumentary, as we call them. It was completely made up. There was nothing real, but a lot of people fell for it and thought it was a real band and a real documentary. It was completely and utterly made up. So now, 21 years later, we get This Is Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. And what we learn is that in the intervening years, the group has split up, but there's a clause being discovered in their contracts that they are contracted to do one last concert together. So the director of the original film is trying to get the band back together. They've had a big fallout. They haven't spoken to each other for 20 years, but he gets them back in the one room. They all agree that they will do one more concert. It's a very, very funny film. There's some really funny lines in it. It's a 15 certificate, but I really enjoyed it. One of the funniest moments of all, they're in the room practicing, getting ready for this concert, sitting around and Paul McCartney comes in. Now, if you're a rock band and Paul McCartney comes in, you would think you're going to, A, include him, B, listen to any advice he might have for you, surely, What's funny is that Paul McCartney starts giving them advice and they completely ignore him. So that's quite funny. That's a good joke. Elton John appears in this as well in a cameo. He actually appears on stage with the band when the concert finally happens. So 15 certificate. I really enjoyed it. So that's in cinemas. Please go see The Sound of Music. Please go see Hamilton and do listen to Hamilton. As I say, there are 3 new films out today in cinemas, which we'll talk about next week. Spinal Tap 2 is very funny. A couple of older films are back in cinemas this weekend. One of them is Billy Elliot. And Billy Elliot is a film set in the North in the 70s. Billy Elliot was a coal miner's son who wanted to be a ballet dancer and becomes a ballet dancer. Really, really good. So some great stuff at the cinema. Definitely go see Sound of Music. Definitely go see Hamilton.
Fantastic. Sounds really good. And I can imagine Sound of Music would have been quite amazing on cinema. And I do remember the intermission. It's really cool that they kept that in there, so you can still kind of enjoy the experience of the intermission. Which I think was, am I right in thinking originally that was so they had time to change over the reel?
It would have been, but also it was a very long film. I mean, it's
Okay.
3 hours long. So it was giving people a comfort break, basically. I mean, films, you think of Ben-Hur, you think of Sound of Music. The last film I saw that had an intermission was the last Lord of the Rings film. The Return of the King had an intermission, which was about 20 minutes, I think, which gave people time for a comfort break. But in the days when they used to make these epics, How the West Was Won and The Robe and, The Greatest Story Ever Told, they all had intermissions because they were all nearly 3 hour long films. People just didn't go to the cinema for a quick. I mean, Spinal Tap, the new Spinal Tap film is 89 minutes long. So you don't need an intermission, but these films used to run for 3 hours. So it was felt. And also, of course, it was an opportunity to sell more popcorn. People could go back out in the foyer and get popcorn for part two if they'd eaten it all in part one.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I think nowadays they don't do that so much, but there are plenty of very long films, 3 hours ish. I mean, Mission
Yeah, there
Impossible
are
films
some.
are getting longer as
Yeah,
well.
as I say, but the last one I saw with an intermission, I did see a Bollywood film. Bollywood films tend to be 3 hours plus long, and they tend to have intermissions. But the last one was the last Lord of the Rings film. I can't remember one since. There might have been one. Um, but Sound of Music, you do get an intermission. It's interesting. There was obviously a couple of people behind me who, believe it or not, had never seen Sound of Music. And when the silent intermission came up, I heard one lady say, "Oh, this is a long film." And she'd obviously never seen it before. I hope she enjoyed seeing it for the first time. I think she did. But that was the idea. And it gave you the opportunity to hear the music because they would play a medley of, a bit like in the overture at the beginning of the film, where you get all the songs. Um, so, yes, but yeah, the mountains literally did come alive with the Sound of Music because great sound. They've restored this film. They've literally taken out every little scratch, every little blemish. It looks like it was made yesterday.
Wow, that's really cool. It's amazing what they can do nowadays to restore films like that and bring it
Yeah,
up to 4K
yeah,
quality or more. Is astonishing.
yeah,
Right, well,
yeah.
we better move on to TV and streaming. We'll be back in just a moment to have a look. So we are back on movie reviews this morning for the Wake Up Call. I'm Nathan Thomas, and of course, I'm here with Andy Godfrey. We've looked at the latest in cinema, and you mentioned your trip to see The Sound of Music on cinema, which apparently was quite epic.
It was, and seeing Hamilton tonight is going to be quite a contrast because Sound of Music is Rodgers and Hammerstein. It's fairly traditional, light, fluffy music, whereas Hamilton is rap music, rock music, as well as some show tunes. There's a great song that's sung by the King of England during the Revolutionary War called "You Belong to Me," and it's a rather funny song because King George was mad and he wanted to get America back. America was revolting. America was the War of Independence. And there's a great song that he sings dressed up as the King of England called "You Belong to Me, You'll Be Back." And it's just a very, very funny song. Do look it up. Do look up Hamilton. You can play some of the songs on Pure, no problem at all. It's a great, great musical. But Sound of Music, as I say, if you can't afford to go to the cinema to see it, it is actually on Sunday afternoon on BBC Two.
Brilliant stuff. And speaking of TV, what would you like to sort of highlight as the best coming up over this weekend or so?
Yeah, so let's do what we usually do. Let's highlight a couple of kids' films and family films. Then a couple of films that I think people who are interested in cinema must see, and then we'll have a break and we'll do must see. So ITV have taken to showing children's films quite early on a Saturday morning. Um, so at 7:45, quarter to eight on Saturday morning on ITV, we've got Madagascar. I can never pronounce this. Madagascar. This is a lively animated DreamWorks film about animals who are being pampered in a zoo. It's great fun. It is the animals escape the zoo and find themselves shipped off to the jungle. So having lived in a zoo-like conditions from birth, how are these animals actually going to cope when they're thrown into the jungle? That's the basic premise. Madagascar is great fun. Really, really good. On BBC One on Saturday lunchtime is a film called Missing Link. So this again is an animated film, and it's about a yeti. It's about an abominable snowman who is discovered, and the people who discover him have an adventure. It's a really delightful animated film. Seriously, I would say it's just thoroughly enjoyable. It's not quite up there, I don't think, with Early Man that we were talking about last week from Aardman, but Missing Link is really, really good, really enjoyable. So there's two family films that you can use a table, you can watch, get the popcorn out, sit around and watch them. And then for maybe people who are a little bit older, on Saturday again on BBC Two is My Darling Clementine. Now this is a classic Western, and it plays with history, but it's a story of the OK Corral, of the gunfight at the OK Corral. Now, the famous gunfight at the OK Corral in reality only lasted a couple of minutes, but there were two films built around the gunfight. So one was called Gunfight at the OK Corral. This one stars Henry Fonda as Wyatt Earp, and it is the story of a famous Western shootout. Sticking with the Western theme on BBC Two on Saturday, we've got How the West Was Won, which is a film that would have had an intermission in its original run, Nathan, because it's over 3 hours long. Okay, so, well, it's actually 2.5 hours, but it would have had an intermission. Great soundtrack to How the West Was Won. Sunday, we've already mentioned The Sound of Music is on. Also on Sunday, ITV is showing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, this was the third Harry Potter film. To me, it's the best of the Harry Potter films. I mean, I've seen all seven. This is the best of them. It's about a prisoner. Azkaban is a famous prison in the world of Harry Potter. It's about a prisoner who escapes and goes after Harry Potter, and Harry has to be protected. Really enjoyable entry into the Harry Potter series. I want to mention one film that's available to stream, if I may, or two, if we've got time very quickly. So one is Elio. So this is another family film. We reviewed it on the show. This is about a little boy who dreams of meeting aliens, does meet aliens. It's a Pixar film. He gets caught up. The aliens are brilliantly rendered. I mean, there's a guy with 2 mouths and 5 eyes. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful aliens. Elio announces himself as the leader of Earth, this little boy, and then gets sent off by these friendly aliens to meet some nasty aliens as their kind of ambassador. It's a really lovely, fun film. Didn't do very well at the cinema. I don't know why. Pixar usually do pretty good, but Elio did not do it. Kind of bombed at the cinema a little bit. And that was a disappointment because I thought it was really, really good. So these are the films, these are the highlights of the films that are on the cinema. And we always mention one film that I think people who are particularly interested in film should see. So one of the greatest movies ever made is on Monday on BBC Two, Raging Bull. Now, this is a boxing movie. It was made in 1980, but it's black and white. And Robert De Niro won an Oscar for his one of the best actor Oscar for his depiction of a boxer, real life boxer, Jake LaMotta, I wrote his name down, a world champion in the 1940s. And this is a film about his life, his loves, his hardships, all he went through in order to become world champion. Directed by Martin Scorsese, but genuinely one of the greatest movies ever made, Raging Bull. So there you go, something for everybody. You've got westerns, you've got science fiction for kids, you've got animation for kids, you've got thrillers. Really is something for everybody on this weekend.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, really great mix. And I must say, I have watched all the Madagascars and they are great fun. I mean,
They
you've
are
got
great fun.
a stellar
Yeah,
cast.
absolutely. Brilliant cast. I mean, you've got Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett, David Schwimmer, Sacha Baron Cohen. The cast is sensational.
Yeah.
And the animation's great, as you would expect from DreamWorks. DreamWorks have always had it as their ambition to try and match Disney and match Disney Pixar. I'm not convinced they've ever quite reached the supreme quality of Disney at their best or Pixar at their best. But DreamWorks at their best is right up there and really worthwhile seeing. And so Madagascar is a great film, and I'm glad you've enjoyed them, Nathan. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good. I just think what's really cool is you've got so many. What's interesting about that particular film is how you've got a number in the cast who would typically only really do adult films. You've got David
yeah,
Schwimmer, you've got Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, who would
yeah.
often be doing comedies that would not be suitable for younger people. However,
No,
you brought them together and they've created this film which is absolutely brilliant for all ages, and it hits both young and old.
I suspect they were probably very well paid.
I suspect
Um,
so.
but, but no, that you're absolutely right. It's lovely to hear these actors' voices, and sometimes with animation, I quite like to not see the cast list in advance because I like to sit there and listen to the voices and try and think who's who, you know. Um, but yeah, it's one of the highlights. I say it's on quite early, but it's on ITV. So my advice would be, if you haven't got it on disc already, tape it, watch it with the kids later on, and read through the adverts. Um, so that you can get that. But also, Missing Link is a really lovely animation that's on Saturday afternoon on BBC One about the Yeti, about the abominable snowman, and the adventures that a group of people have finding him. There are lots of other films on this weekend. Of course, there are, but the ones I've mentioned: Sound of Music, Raging Bull, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and then to stream, definitely Elio.
Awesome. Well, that covers TV and streaming, the highlights of TV and streaming, according to Andy Godfrey. And we'll be back in a moment to hear his must see for this weekend. Okay, so for the final part of movie reviews this morning, we are going to find out about Andy Godfrey's must see for this weekend. Just a moment ago, we were talking about some great stuff on TV. You've got one of the Harry Potter movies. There's a
Yep.
good Western. There's The Raging Bull, and then you've got a couple of animated movies, Missing Link, and also Madagascar. So great pickings this
Yeah.
weekend.
And you were talking about the great actors in Madagascar, and I was saying quite possibly they were paid very well. There's a very famous story about Michael Caine, and I've heard him tell the story in person. So Michael Caine is in Jaws 4, which is a terrible film, terrible film. It's a rubbish film, Jaws 4. And the story goes that Michael Caine was sent the script, and he opened the script, and right at the top of the script, it said location Bahamas. And he closed the script and said, tell him I'll do it. Didn't even read the rest of the script, which was terrible. And he admits it's a terrible film. But no, 4 weeks in the Bahamas, fully paid. Tell him I'll do it.
Well, that makes sense.
So,
I can imagine that a lot of actors or actresses perhaps taken a film on for that very reason.
yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, would you turn down 4 weeks in the Bahamas just to do a bit? Oh, I don't think I would.
probably not to be paid to be there.
All expenses paid, 5-star hotel, all the rest of it.
No, hard to turn down that offer.
But that is a very famous story that Michael Caine tells. He just location Bahamas, tell him I'll do it.
Yeah. Uh,
So we've come to must see.
yes, indeed. What
So,
would it be this weekend then?
okay, so I've chosen this one very deliberately, Nathan, because last week we lost one of the acting greats, Robert Redford. Robert Redford, who is one of the greatest actors of all time, starred in some of the greatest films of all time, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, numerous others passed away. And, we lost Hollywood royalty. He was a great actor. So one of his films has been shown this week, and it's the last film he made. And I would say it's a must see. I absolutely loved it. So it's called The Old Man and the Gun. The Old Man and the Gun. Please look out for this. This is on Film 4 on Tuesday. It's showing as a tribute to Robert Redford. Now, in this, he plays a character loosely based on a real life guy whose name was Forrest Tucker. And Forrest Tucker was an elderly gentleman robber. He was a pensioner in America, but all his life he'd been a bank robber and never been caught. This is going back a few years, and he just couldn't give up bank robbing. He just couldn't give up bank robbing. He wanted to at times, but it become in his blood. It become a way of life. And Robert Redford plays him beautifully. This elderly man who is a bank robber. He meets late in life a lovely lady called Jewel, and they develop a tender friendship. It's not a sort of romantic thing. It's just a real, genuine, tender friendship that he develops with this younger woman. And she finds out what he does for a living. She finds out that he's struggling to give up being a bad guy, and she's trying to help him. And the cops are closing in, but this is a real charmer. This is a real wonderful, lovely, laid back, gentle film. It's not all cops and robbers and all guns blazing, It's literally, as the title says, it does what it says on the tin, the old man and the gun. And this girl that he meets, Cassie played by Cassie Affleck, she tries to help him, and they form this wonderful, tender friendship as the cops are closing in on him to arrest him in later life. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I saw it at the cinema. It turned out to be the last film that Robert Redford ever made, and his back catalogue is outstanding. But do watch The Old Man and the Gun. I would say it's an absolute must see. I've got it on disc. I bought it on disc after I saw it at the cinema. It's just a joy. It's a lovely, laid back, gentle story about a really super friendship that develops between an old man and a younger woman who just wants to help him as the cops are closing in. And honestly, it is a joy. It is a real tender, lovely film that had me actually welling up at times. I remember sitting in my cinema seat welling up towards the end. Just a joy. So please look out for The Old Man and the Gun. It's on Film 4. I suspect you can get it widely to stream, but it's on Film 4 on Tuesday at 7:00. Really worthwhile seeing. And of course, paying tribute to Robert Redford, as you do. Watch
Indeed. And as you pointed out, he's got an amazing career. So yeah, I hadn't heard that he passed away, but that is sad because obviously he's done so many great films over the years. I can think of, for example, he was in the remake of Pete's Dragon, for example.
He was in that. There's some surprising films that he was in. Yeah, he was in a film called Out of Africa with Meryl Streep, which was a sort of romantic love story set in the jungle. My favourite Robert Redford film, I have to say, is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, from which we get the song "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." Was written for the soundtrack of that film. But he was a great actor. He was a charmer. He had a winning smile. He was a charmer. And everybody who met him, and I read quite a few obituaries last week when he passed away, but everybody had the pleasure of meeting him said he was a real gentleman, and he wasn't one of these puffed up Hollywood stars. Look at me, aren't I rich, aren't I famous, and all the rest of it. Very humble guy, very down to earth guy who people love being in his presence. And this film is really worth watching. It's a very tender film about a very tender, beautiful friendship between an old man and a young lady who's just trying to help him.
Oh, that sounds really good. Thank you so much, Andy. Really great tribute to Robert Redford, and do check out the film The Old Man with the Gun, his final film.
The Old Man and the Gun.
The Old Man and the Gun, sorry. Yes. Thank you so much, Andy. It's been great to chat with you again. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, we'll report on some of those films that I'm going to see, and really looking forward to seeing Hamilton tonight. You need to check it out. If you like rap music, Nathan, if you like rock music, if you like show music, you need to check out Hamilton if you haven't seen it. It is on Disney Plus, but the soundtrack is widely available. It's just fantastic.
All right, I will definitely check that out at some point. Thank you so much. Okay. See you again soon.
See you again soon, Nathan. God bless Pure. God bless everybody listening. Thanks a lot.
Did you know that at Pure 24/7 Radio we also offer advertising? Advertising really does work. Let's face it, you're listening to this. Want to know more? Well, just go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/advertising, and you can get everything you want and more there.